Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/cheating stories, where OP saw his fiancé walk out of a hotel with another guy. Let's begin. Caught my fiancé at a hotel. Help needed. Posted by Reddit user famousbug4812.
Need help. Caught my fiancé at a hotel with a guy. So let me try to sum this up and paint the picture as best as I can. Me and my fiancé have been together for 4.5 years and have a 20-month-old daughter together. She has a 19-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. So I would say the issue started after our daughter was born. She started complaining that I wasn't giving her enough attention. Being attentive to her, I wasn't pursuing her anymore or taking her out. I tried explaining to her things are different because she has a child which requires a lot of our attention, and that I would try to work on those things. I recall one fight got really bad about a year ago, and she told me she wasn't in love with me anymore and that the spark was gone between us and didn't know if it could ever get it back. So anyway, we ended up getting past that and moving on. About 2 months ago, we got into a big fight because her older daughter was going for a cyst removal procedure and I didn't call to check up on her throughout the day. And I tried to explain I was extremely busy at work that day and that I couldn't. So she went off on me and how I'm selfish, narcissistic, a piece of shit and only care about myself. I was honestly caught off guard by it, so I got angry in return and we just stopped talking. She was scheduled to go back to her country the next week to visit her mom and sister. The whole week went by and we didn't talk or anything. I drove them to the airport and dropped them off and nothing, still didn't talk. She gets there and texts me we need to talk, and I'm still super angry about the situation and I tell her go fuck yourself and she replied oh wow okay. So she's there for 10 days and I only talked through FaceTime with my daughter. When she would pick up, she would just hand the phone to my daughter. So we didn't speak that whole time and she gets back. I go pick them up from the airport and we're still not talking. This is going on 2.5 weeks now not talking. One day after work, it's the day before Halloween, and I get home and she's showering and dressed very, revealing and tells me she's going out with friends. Okay, I stay home with our daughter and she gets home at 6 a.m. The next day I went off on her, calling her every name in the book, whore, slut, etc., saying how she could be out till that time. She tells me that we haven't talked in almost 3 weeks and that she basically considers us not together at this point. We eventually sort of make up, but didn't really get any real clarity on this we're not together bullshit. So anyway, at this point we're talking. Not how we normally would. She's acting sort of cold and distant, but I'm trying to do little things to make her happy. One night after work I call her and she tells me she's going out to eat with family at a restaurant, so I go there to surprise them. I get there and call and she tells me they changed their minds and went to a different place. So I ask where and she wouldn't tell me. Very strange. My gut at this point tells me something is up, so I order a tracking device and put it in her car. One day after work I call her 4 times, she doesn't pick up. She calls me back and I hear an echo in the background like she was in a bathroom. So I ask her why she's calling me from a bathroom when she told me she was getting a massage. That why she couldn't just pick up the phone on the chair. She gives some bullshit excuse. So then I ask her, I have a feeling something is going on. Can you tell me the truth? And she goes, why you feel guilty? Are you doing something? And hangs up the phone on me. I checked the GPS on the tracking device and it's right in front of a hotel when she told me she was at a massage parlor. Feeling of rage, betrayal, and just beyond hurt. So I steer driving towards this hotel and get there and see her car parked right in front. I sit and wait for about an hour and finally I see her walking out with a guy. I storm towards them, get in both their faces. God help me how I didn't put my hands on this dude and I cursed her out. The hotel called the cops on me. I was so irate. I was seeing red. I get in my car and drive home. She eventually comes home too and tries to justify that she's been asking for me to be more attentive, fun, going out more passion, and that I didn't give it to her for over a year and that she had enough and that she considered herself single, that I pushed her to that point. So then she confesses that she's been talking to this dude since she went to her country about a month ago and that he's been going to her job bringing her food. They went out to lunch. And the night she was out until 6 a.m., she was with him. But get this, she claims they never had sex. All they did was kiss and that it was more emotional than physical. Like, how stupid does she think I am? And God know how much information she's telling me. I'm sure there's much more to it. It's been 2 weeks now and I just feel disgusted at times. I get these vivid imaginations in my head of her fucking him. And I confront her about it and she will not admit to it. She even swore on both her daughters. I don't know where to go from here. I'm sure everyone will tell me to just leave, but it's not easy.
Okay. Sure. They got a hotel room just to kiss. Yep, 100% legit. Right. OP, she checked out a while ago and she told you, move on because she already has. Why do you want her to admit it in the first place? She already told you twice that she doesn't consider herself yours anymore. It's obvious what happened here, OP, even with her fucked up way of justifying it. Instead of seeing the truth and acting on it, why are you waiting for a manufactured premise? Would it change a single damn thing if she admitted? If so, her tactics of manipulation and gaslighting are definitely working. Good luck, you idiot. Now for today's second story. I got cheated on, but I couldn't help but be nice. Oh man, I could already tell this is gonna suck ass for OP. Posted by Reddit user Perokaboa.
I arrived from my work 3 days ago to find my girlfriend lying in bed with another guy. My initial response was to freak out and ask what was going on. When I asked what my girlfriend was doing in bed with another guy, the guy flared up in disbelief, shaking and looking at me frantically before yelling out, "He's your boyfriend." My girlfriend turns around to say she planned to tell him. I could only help but feel bad for him. He had no idea and she was the only one at fault here. Under rage and complete disappointment, I had the urge to kick them both out, but I ended up only kicking out my now ex-girlfriend. I told the guy to calm down and told him to stick around. I assured him I wouldn't hurt him and to prove that I offered him a beverage which he accepted. We ended up talking and it turns out she had mentioned she was single and had no plans for a commitment. At this point he was still panicking. I'm obviously still furious. Deep down, even though I know he's not guilty, I still couldn't look him in the eyes. Yet I felt some sort of pity. I couldn't just kick him out in his super awkward and uncomfortable moment. I managed to be nice by putting myself in his shoes. He ended up leaving more relaxed and relieved I didn't intend on hurting him. It's safe to say I'll never see him again, but I think I at least made the right choice despite having my world upside down. Update 1. You read the title right and know he had no malicious intent. He came back to thank me and to bring a few things. Turns out my girlfriend has been giving him presents. He brought them to me to ask if any had belonged to me since she had been a liar and a cheat to both of us, and it turns out some did. From rings to necklaces I had lost, he had them. She had been giving stuff of mine to him as presents and pretending she had bought them for him. He offered them back to me and asked if I wanted to get to know each other better. I agreed and now I've got his contact. I'm planning to meet up and get to know him better soon. These were his words. The last few days I haven't been right with myself. You showed me mercy and kindness and I gave nothing in return. Any other guy would have me in hospital or worse. Update 2. This is the second update regarding my initial situation. Me and him met up today for lunch, and we talked about how it all started and how long it went on for. It made so much more sense. It started back in July of this year at a time I wasn't home and was visiting family. She took advantage of the fact I wasn't home to find another man. He was super nice to me once again, saying that if he had ever known I was in the picture, he wouldn't have done anything. I asked how he didn't know about me, considering I own my own house and she lived with me. He told me that she had lied and said she lived with her parents so he couldn't visit initially. They'd meet up elsewhere like malls, coffee shops, and so on. All this likely when I was at work or too busy. I trusted her enough not to track her every movement. I'm not controlling. He said it started when she approached him at a bar near where I live. They had a night together and she left her contact with him shortly after. I'm appalled at how easily she went out and did that. Turns out he even asked her at the very start if she was in any situation that would cause issues. She said no. He showed me proof on his phone. He kept all the texts to prove that he did ask and that he had no clue me and her were a thing. I'm still furious, so I did the pettiest thing I could. I took a photo of the food me and him got together and intentionally posted it to my story with him in frame. I got a message from my ex shortly after asking if that was him. I won't be answering. I just want her to panic a little. I deserve a little harmless revenge. We both laughed at it and agreed to keep in contact. For now, this is where the story ends. I have no further curiosity or questions for him regarding this situation. Edit. If Reddit so wishes, I can still make updates on our friendship and normal life. Considering so many people are invested, I'd hate to cut it short for some of you. Update 3. Remember all the posts I made regarding my situation? Talking about how this guy I showed kindness to could potentially be someone great, someone different, and who I wanted to be friends with. Scrap it. As a fellow Redditor mentioned, his story didn't really match up. He said he never met her at my house because she lied and said she had to live with her parents, yet I found them in my bed. I confronted him about it yesterday night, and he fumbled it, stuttered and couldn't get words out, so I knew something was wrong. I continuously asked for him to just spit it out, which he did. They were working together. He knew about me all along and they lied for each other on the fucking spot. He only stuck around when I told him to because he saw an opportunity to get information from me and get something out of me. I refuse to believe this started in July. It's likely all a lie and I've probably been played for years. There's no way two people lie for each other like that on the spot after a few months of intercourse. They had more, way more. Everything he did, even the stuff he brought back to return, were her ideas so that I wouldn't charge her with anything in the future if I were to find out. The photo, she acted surprised as to not give it away, but in reality, she knew from the start when he came to my house. She wanted to snoop around and know about my life despite not being in it. He took my kindness and did everything wrong that he could. I'm furious. I'm lost. I didn't get anything out of this. In fact, after everything that could have gone wrong, stuff still continued to go wrong. I'm unsure of how to cope with this at all. It was all a lie and well, no bromance or best friend for me, I suppose. Edit. I failed to mention he genuinely showed no remorse. He admitted to it all after I pressured him and proceeded to hang up the phone in the middle of my turn to speak. I'm not even going to bother, but I am annoyed. And the worst part about it is I have nothing I can do back to them. I can't just get violent or burst into rage. I'm better than that. But it hurts, not because of him, because I barely knew him, but because it's just so much at once.
OP, today's breakup is much better than tomorrow's divorce. I'm glad that other people got to help you with your situation. You got rid of those lying, cheating fuckers. You want revenge, OP? Here's a little idea. You got both of their phone numbers, right? You have both of their names. You have both of their email addresses. Dude, go full petty revenge on them and go sign their dumbasses up for everything possible on the internet. You can even go a step further and go on Craigslist, post an ad saying free blowjobs and handjobs. You know what? Actually, I'm pretty sure that last part is pretty damn illegal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. So forget about that one. OP, they played you. At least pull this petty revenge so you can quit sulking and move on with your life. Close the door with your head held high. Also, one last piece of advice, man. Regardless of the circumstances, don't befriend your girlfriend's affair partner, dude. It's never a good idea. Why would you even consider it, you donut? Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/relationship advice, where OP finds out the hard way that long-distance relationships doesn't really work out too well. Let's begin. My long-distance girlfriend cheated and lied to me and got sexually assaulted by 2 of the 3 people she cheated on me with. Ooh. Posted by Reddit user not Derek Pam.
This is going to be a longish post, so skip to the TLDR if you don't want to read all of it. So exactly what the title suggests. My girlfriend cheated on me throughout our first semester of long-distance relationship. We started hooking up in June of our senior year. And when it came for her to move away to college, she told me she loved me and wanted to do a long-distance relationship despite being non-exclusive the whole summer. I agreed, assuming this was her closing the relationship, and we've been dating ever since. She's an amazing person, and I've never connected with another person the way I do with her, which is why I decided to do long distance with her. However, we came back onto the topic of exclusivity in October, to which I assumed we were exclusive, but she said that we weren't. That was a shock, considering everything. But she ultimately told me that she hasn't slept with anyone yet and that she was willing to become exclusive. I told her to be completely honest with me, and that even though I might hold some resentment towards her for that I would appreciate the honesty and work towards overcoming that, since technically we never revisited our terms of exclusivity when doing long distance. She still said no, that she hadn't slept with anyone, and I believed her. Anyways, I plan visits. I make time. She goes to school in Philly while I'm in Texas, so it's hard, but I was willing to put in the effort. I visited her in September, flew her out in October, and then she came home for Thanksgiving in November. It was during the November break when I found out what she did, and then I confronted her about it. Immediately she broke down and started crying, telling me how sorry she was for lying and cheating on me. She told me the first 2 were while we were non-exclusive, and that the third one was completely her fault and that she didn't say no. This is where things get messy. She then tells me that the third one, let's call him Ethan, raped her, and that after it started she didn't want it to keep going, but he didn't notice or seem to care. He was apparently well endowed and hurt her to the point where she was bleeding and couldn't walk. This happened around early November, and I noticed things were off. I didn't let her go into much detail, more so for her because I didn't want to make her relive that moment, but I didn't know how to feel that my girlfriend was raped while cheating. It doesn't stop there though, and she then goes back to the second guy for emotional support. For context, he was in her friend group and were friends while they were hooking up, but she ended things with him after we were officially exclusive. So she goes to him for support, and she tells me that he used her for sex despite being the only person she could talk to her situation about. She told me she felt used by him, and that he would come listen to her sob, fuck her, and then leave. She was non-enthusiastic about every second of it, but she was scared that her only support would leave if she didn't have sex with him. She tells me all of this, absolutely destroyed with what was a mix of guilt, shame, and regret, and I don't know how to feel. I was shockingly calm throughout that entire encounter, and I offered her support where she needed, and I sympathized and was there for her during her retelling me her stories of sexual assault. She told me that I was her only anchor now and that she couldn't do it, it being life. I think she wasn't specific, without me, and begged me back. I broke up with her immediately after finding out, but she kept holding on and crying. I'm completely mixed on how to feel. On one hand, she cheated and lied to me, but not only that, had a whole situationship with one of her friends, while in a relationship with me that continued after we were exclusive. It's insulting the lack of respect that she showed me and our entire relationship. On the other hand, I still love her, despite everything, and I feel the need to be there for her when no one else can. TLDR. Long-distance relationship. Girlfriend cheated on me with 3 people, one person being a situationship who ended up using her for sex, and another person entirely raping her to the point where she bled. I am clueless and lost. I don't know how to feel. Part of me wants to still be with her, but I know what she did was unforgivable. Parts of me wants to be there for her through her complex emotions, but another part wants nothing to do with her.
OP, it's over. She continually cheated on you. I'm sorry, but the only guy she could talk to about the situation was someone she was fucking? Seriously, like for real. OP, you don't know your girlfriend. No one else really knows her either, but that's her own fault. She doesn't have any friends. She only has fuck buddies. And again, that's her own fault. Just take yourself out of this fucked up situation your girlfriend has put herself in. She needs more help than what you or anyone else that isn't a professional can offer. OP, don't go back to her. Don't be there for her. She doesn't deserve your support. She literally fucked around and now she's facing the consequences. She put having sex with these men over your own relationship, and now she comes crying back to you for support when it all goes to hell? No. Fuck no. Don't fall for it. Cut her out of your life. Ghost her completely. What she does after that is neither your concern or your responsibility. Good luck. Now for today's second story. My girlfriend of 7 years cheated with someone who was practically a child. Okay. Just to be clear here, ladies and gentlemen, OP did confirm that the dude is over 18 years of age. He's an adult. A fully legal adult. Okay. Posted by Reddit user Daryl Ray.
Hello everyone. 2 weeks ago I didn't know this place existed. I never thought I would be posting here, but it looks like that is the norm. I have read almost every single post in this subreddit, and those alone have helped me immensely, so thank you. I wrote out the entire story, but it was very long and I'm not sure if anyone would read it or if I'm even ready to share it. For a few months now I had suspected my girlfriend was cheating. I finally logged on her Facebook and found out for sure 2 days before Thanksgiving. I was devastated. Like a lot of other posters here, I had trusted my partner completely up until the last few months. I invested in 100% of myself into this relationship and genuinely thought I would spend the rest of my life with her. I had already bought a ring. I later found out through social media that the guy is only 18 years old. He is still in high school and works or worked at McDonald's. I was floored. I feel so many things I'm not even sure what to think about it. I have a home and a decent career and have been the sole provider for my girlfriend for our entire 7-year relationship. To think that she would throw it all away for some kid is surreal. I kicked her out immediately. We have had about 4 conversations since then, which began civil and rapidly escalated into ugly and hurtful. Unfortunately, I have been through this all before, so I knew the relationship was over the moment I saw the messages. But there was still a part of me that wanted her to grovel and beg for another chance, to give me any excuse to have her back. She apologized at first, but only as a pretext to tell me how I had hurt her, how she now had no car and no money, and I had disconnected her phone line. It was obvious that she was only sorry for herself. She later became nasty. She made the usual excuses, that I wasn't there for her and I wasn't what she needed and I never loved her, etc. She had no remorse. Again, it was all too familiar to me at this stage in my life, but it didn't make it hurt any less. I was devastated after my last long-term relationship ended in cheating. I dated casually for a long time after that because I didn't feel like I could trust other people. She was the first person I ever met who I believed genuinely loved me. I finally felt like it was safe to give everything I had. Every day now feels like a nightmare. She is now dating the guy as far as I know.
If she can throw away a 7-year-long relationship so easily, trust me, she won't be a stable mother and a stable wife. So OP, go ditch her. Let the kid deal with her. Look, you sound mature to me, so I will say move on and never look back or give in if she comes back to you, because I'm 100% sure she's still in the affair fog, and when she starts missing those facilities and comfort which you used to provide, I'm 100% sure she will try and contact you with a huge long message, somewhere in the lines of, "I'm sorry, it was just a mistake," and etc, 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 all that bullshit cheaters do, okay? That could happen months from now, maybe even years. Don't give in, OP. Just move on and start any activities to divert your mind. You know, like hitting the gym, become a Chad or something, play video games, or learn some new useful life skills. Good luck, man. I know you can do it. Don't be a simp, okay? I don't want to see you on this channel again. And now for today's final story. My girlfriend is disabled and I can't take care of her anymore. Posted by Reddit user oldshare5828.
Some context. Sorry if this is too long. I'm 33 and she is 31. We moved in together in 2019. We started working from home when the pandemic started. Everything was going okay. In August 2020, she suddenly started talking nonsense while I was getting something to eat from the fridge. She was sitting on the couch and just started blabbing random words. When I asked her what was wrong, she just mumbled more nonsense. I instantly recognized this as a stroke because my dad had one and died. Getting an ambulance was impossible. I kept calling the emergency line, but they wouldn't show up. So I had to get an Uber. That took some time too. Once we got to the ER, the doctor wouldn't believe me when I told her she was having a stroke. She stopped talking and insisted on testing for COVID. I tried arguing, but they made us wait. After 1 hour and 30 minutes of waiting, a doctor finally came to see us, but she said she didn't believe it was a stroke because she looked normal. I described the symptoms and begged her to please do some tests or whatever. She reluctantly agreed and I had to go home. I felt unsafe leaving her alone with male nurses because she couldn't talk or walk on her own, but I had no choice because they wouldn't let me wait inside the hospital because of COVID. I got a call the next day asking me go pick her up. The doctor confirmed she had a stroke and told me to take care of her because there wasn't anything else they could do for her and she didn't need emergency care. I asked him if there was anything they could do, but they told me they weren't currently offering any therapy for stroke victims because of the pandemic, and to ask again in a few months, and he gave me a card of a place that I could call for that. My girlfriend never talked again. She still can't walk on her own. The place the doctor referred me to started offering therapy sessions again in late 2021. I took her for about 3 months, but she wasn't making any improvements. I read somewhere that there's a short time window of about 6 months for treatment after a stroke and she missed it. My girlfriend can't do anything on her own. She just lays down all day. I have to support us both. I feed her with a tiny spoon and wash her. I still have my old job, but I'm looking for a new one and keep getting turned down because they all want me to go into the office at least a couple of times a week, and I can't leave her alone because she could get injured trying to get out of bed. Just got a rejection email today for a job I really wanted and I'm pissed. I started getting calls from debt collectors over some money she owed too. She has family, but they can't take care of her. She lived in a really bad part of the city with lots of crime and drug problems, and they are very poor. I renewed my lease without any problems in late 2021, but if I want to move in the future, I'll have to take her with me, and landlords don't like disabled people. It's not like I can just rent something on my own and sneak a disabled person in. I haven't really had sex since she had the stroke. I did try to have sex with her a few times since then, but it didn't feel consensual, so I stopped. I can't do this anymore. My life is basically over. TLDR. Girlfriend is disabled and I can't do this anymore.
I'm being dead serious right now. OP, you have a case for malpractice. Malpractice laws are strict. They're damn strict, and everyone's awful response is almost certainly going to be counted as contributing to the severity of her condition. There is absolutely zero excuse to not even check, and now she's permanently disabled. All because a doctor and emergency service couldn't even be bothered to do their fucking job correctly. OP, I am so sorry for what the both of you had gone through and what you will be continuing to go through in the future. It's cruel. It's unfair. You didn't deserve it. Contact a lawyer and go file that case. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/Surviving Infidelity, where OP's cheating ex-wife is so bitter that he's doing so well that she tried to sue him and failed miserably. Oh wow, what a roller coaster. Ooh, okay, let's begin. Cheating, divorce, exposure of her cheating, restraining order, and 1 year later, I'm living my best life. Posted by Reddit user Cramerica Industry.
I met her online a decade ago doing 52 books in 52 weeks reading challenge. She posted that she was undergoing chemoradiation for stage 4 cancer. I organized a care package and sent it to her. I had no romantic interest in her and didn't even know what she looked like at the time. She messaged me a couple of days later saying that she cried when she saw the package at her doorstep. Nobody has ever done this thoughtful for me before. We continued to exchange messages and became friends over our shared interest in books. Eventually, the friendship morphed into a long-distance relationship. I flew to Texas to see her. She flew to Pennsylvania to see me. Back and forth, back and forth. In 2015, she permanently moved to Pennsylvania. I put a down payment on a house. She was broke. Proposed to her later 11 months later, and we got married the following year. She had a laundry list of psychiatric problems, bad anxiety, severe depression, horrible PTSD from SA, etc., which I was aware of but didn't realize their severity until we started to live together. But I was committed to her at that point. Like penguins, I commit for life. The good times, the bad times, and everything in between. Over the next 7 years, I was there for every low point in her life. By the time our marriage was ending, she was at the highest point in her life. All her psychiatric problems were under control. Her career was blossoming while working from home the entire time and making the most money she's ever made. She later wrote in court documents that I made her take that job so I can control her. The weasel she was cheating on me with lived in New York, and she used the need to visit the company's office in New York as a cover to see him for at least 2 years. In 7 years of living together, we had one fight. On our honeymoon in Key West, Florida, she got so mad at me when I called to check up on my parents. We made up and she learned to accept that my parents are extremely important to me and I continued to call them daily. She didn't seem to mind. Remove the stress of children. We didn't have any. And money, we both had great careers and there was nothing much to argue about. What looked like a good marriage was in reality a parasite-host relationship. As I learned more about her toward the end of our marriage, I realized that this was not a woman. This is a parasite who used me to stabilize her life. Once I stopped serving her purpose, she discarded me like a piece of trash. In January 2020, we flew to Oklahoma and put down a down payment on a plot of land so she can be closer to her family. Construction on the house began the following months. We permanently moved to Oklahoma in August 2020. I left my family and friends behind in Pennsylvania, where I lived for 20 years just so she can be happier. She was cheating on me while the house was being built. D-Day was December 12, 2021. She slipped up and gave me a reason to become suspicious. She was an alcoholic. She'd binge when I left for work at night but sober for 1.5 years at this point. She said that she wants to fly to Chicago for an Alcoholics Anonymous conference. Sure, no problem. She bought a gift for her Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, who she claimed was one of the most important people in her life, but she left it at home. I thought that was very odd but not enough for me to snoop. Later that weekend she texted me, "I'm so fucked up and going through the steps again." She never talked like that. I interpreted it as her getting drunk, which made no sense. You're around your sponsor and other Alcoholics Anonymous members and you got drunk. I Googled to check if there was an Alcoholics Anonymous conference in Chicago that weekend. There wasn't. For the first time in our marriage, I went through her iPad. I found photos of her having sex with another guy and screenshots of explicit messages he was sending to her. I'll post the full story in the future. My first and last journal entry. I've made every mistake imaginable. I shed more tears than her. I considered reconciliation. I did the pick-me dance. I took her out on dates. I had sex with her, but the attraction faded very fast as I learned about her ugly personality. Soon I couldn't look at her hideous face any longer and ended all physical contact. But for the sake of not dragging this out for too long, I filed for divorce and it was finalized less than 2 months after D-Day. She refused to tell people the real reason why we were getting divorced. She wanted to sweep the cheating under the rug. Eventually, she relented and said that she'd tell her parents. On February 1st, 2021, as we were moving out the last of her belongings, I asked if I can say goodbye to her mom, who was waiting outside. Her parents treated me like a son, as did the rest of the extended family. I told her mom, "Sorry that it didn't work out between your daughter and I," to which her mom responded, "That's okay. You were both equally responsible for this." Equally responsible. This pathological liar. I have screenshots of her lying about her identity online. Must have lied to her parents and smeared my name to her parents. Hearing her mom say that set me off. I decided to wait until all legal documents were signed and expose her. The parasite ended up paying through her teeth financially. She wanted an uncontested divorce in our no-fault state. I guess she didn't want to stand in front of the judge and talk about her cheating. I kept the fully furnished house and 70% equity. I kept the newer paid-off car. I kept the money I was putting away every paycheck toward my parents' retirement. The moment she complained about the house equity split, I told her that I won't negotiate. Hire a lawyer. We are going to court to contest this. She didn't. I refinanced the house at a 2.75% fixed rate. What a steal. She went back to renting and signed a 1-year contract. The following month, the Fed began hiking interest rates to combat inflation. The mortgage rates have at least doubled since then. Because of that, she will end up paying tens of thousands of dollars more for waiting an extra year to buy a house. On March 7, 2021, I sent a 9-page email describing her cheating in explicit details to her entire immediate and extended family, 14 people in total. I spared the sweet little grandma from reading that smut. I then contacted her manager at work and outed her cheating. I contacted the CEO of her company and did the same. 5 days later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, there was a sheriff standing with papers in his hands. I was served with a restraining order for harassment and stalking. To make her case stronger, she lied and wrote that I also abused her. She asked the judge to order me to enroll into a domestic abuse program. Mind you, I've never raised my voice or my hand at this woman even after what she did to me. She lied and wrote that I never let her leave the house alone. I made her work from home so I can control her. I controlled what kind of makeup and hairstyle she could wear. I abused our cats. I made posts on this subreddit saying that women in other countries get jailed or killed. I made a post saying cheaters, not women, are punished for infidelity by fine and even jail in other countries. She replaced cheaters with women and fine with killed to make me appear violent. You should have seen the dumb look on her face when I brought that piece of evidence to the courtroom and my lawyer made her read it out loud. After multiple delays, I finally had the restraining order hearing 6 months later. She looked like absolute shit when she walked it. Those 6 months have not been kind to her. It looked like she has gained more weight. She was already fat before. Her stomach fat still visible even though she tried her best to hide it. She tried to cover her acne scars with makeup, but it looked so bad. Like a kabuki mask. Apparently, my emails caused a lot of problems within the family. Of course, she never took any accountability and blamed me in the courtroom for sending it. The entire hearing lasted less than 10 minutes. She presented zero evidence. I had extensive evidence to disprove every single one of her claims but only needed to present one. Months and months of credit card statements showing that she was going to stores, restaurants, cafes, etc. while I was at work. Photos of us out together and her wearing different hairstyles and makeup. At one point, the judge just turned to her and asked, "Do you have any evidence to prove what you are claiming? Any witnesses who can corroborate what you are saying?" She replied no. Her case was thrown out due to lack of evidence. The only reason why I haven't pressed charges against her for false allegations of abuse is because I don't want to be stuck in another 6-month-long legal battle with this parasite. In the courtroom, she tried to portray as if I was obsessed with her. I've moved on with my life a long time ago, and I'm exponentially happier than I've ever been while with her. I realize now that I was never happy with her. I was content. Ironically, cancer brought us together, and I didn't find happiness until I excised the cancer out of my life. If she ever tries to contact me in the future, I'm going straight to police and pressing charges for false allegations of abuse. On the 1-year anniversary of Day or Liberation Day as my friend calls it, I went out to celebrate. I celebrated because I averted a catastrophe by 11 days. A couple of weeks prior to D-Day, she and I were driving in the car. She turned to me and said, "I feel like you use me for sex, cooking, and laundry." Words cannot describe how horrible I felt as a husband. I felt like the worst husband in the world. I couldn't believe I made her feel that way. I pulled my mask up and tears started pouring down my cheeks. This is the first time I've ever cried in front of her. When we got home, she clarified that she feels like that because we don't share deep conversations. We talk about our daily life, but we don't have deep conversation. In retrospect, this parasite was projecting. In reality, she was using me the entire time. We had marriage therapy scheduled for December 23rd. 11 days prior, I discovered her cheating. I must have had a guardian angel watching over me. Otherwise, I'd be in therapy now working on ways to make her happy while she is sneaking behind my back and cheating on me. And now OPS update. Update. This is an alternate account for privacy and anonymity. My primary account was cited in the courtroom. 1 year ago, I discovered that the woman with whom I've been with for close to a decade was cheating on me. I posted on this subreddit 2 days after D-Day looking for support because my support system was 1,000 miles away. I was so afraid to tell my parents. A year earlier, on Thanksgiving, my dad wrote that he is most thankful for one of his sons being settled in life, having a good career, and a family of his own. And once my brother has a family of his own, my mom and dad would succeed as parents. I honestly thought that my news would devastate them so much that they'd both end up in the hospital. Like many others, in my original post I blamed myself for her cheating. Why wasn't I a better husband so she wouldn't feel the need to seek attention elsewhere? Thankfully, this group stepped in and collectively advised me to file for divorce. I follow this subreddit closely. To reciprocate for helping me through tough times, I will offer an update on my story. This one has a happy ending. Perhaps it will motivate you to go on your own journey of self-improvement, or provide the impetus to leave your cheating partner. Or at the very least it will put a smile on your face reading about a cheater being exposed. After discovering her cheating, I was crushed. Self-esteem was gone. Self-worth, non-existent. I decided to go on a journey of self-improvement to find my self-esteem and self-worth again. What helped me to regain my self-esteem was setting goals, then going out and achieving those goals. My weight loss journey started a couple of weeks prior to D-Day. Her cheating kicked it into another gear. I joined a gym a couple of days after D-Day. Over the next 11 months, I lost close to 60 pounds. Here is one of the photos. A little over a month after D-Day, I signed up on a whim to run a marathon. I was still overweight at the time and hadn't ran a mile since playing high school soccer. But I had 87 days to prepare and I was determined to finish the marathon at any cost. I finished the marathon in a little over 5 hours. You can read more about my couch to marathon story here. After finishing the race, my self-esteem shot up. If I can do this, I can do anything I set my mind to. I'm currently looking for an endurance coach to train for a triathlon. A couple of months after the marathon, a friend challenged me to do a bodybuilding. It was so outside of my comfort zone to stand half naked in front of a large crowd, next to competitors who have much more experience than me, and to be judged, but I accepted the challenge. With only 16 weeks to prepare, I needed professional help. I hired a personal trainer. Here is a collage of my physical transformation since D-Day, culminating in getting on a bodybuilding stage and winning a medal. At this point, I'm looking good and feeling good. Self-esteem is through the roof and I'm oozing confidence. I'm currently training for one more show in June and one in October 2023. I made a wager that I will take home the first place in my class in October. This year I've been purposefully putting myself outside of my comfort zone. After 10 years as a registered nurse working with adults, an opportunity came up to work with children. This is way outside of my comfort zone. Health problems, common medications, and communication in general is completely different between adults and children. But I jumped at the opportunity and have absolutely loved it. Today I work at a children's psychiatric hospital where we provide crisis intervention for homicidal, suicidal, and self-harming children ages 5 to 17. Since the divorce, I will double my income in the first fiscal year. The goal for 2023 is to bring in 200 Kelvin. I'm in the last semester for my master's degree. I should be finished in the next couple of months. I took a 7-day, 10-state, 5,000-mile road trip to Montana with my best friend. While married, I always wanted to visit Montana but never pulled the trigger. We had an absolute blast. The highlight was going on a fishing charter, each one of us catching a 29-plus-inch lake trout, then cooking it at our lakeside cabin. The goal for 2023 is to cross off a bunch of other states on the visit every state in the U.S. bucket list. I'll be hitting Alaska, Pacific Northwest, and Southeast states. This year I've invested more time and money toward my health and well-being than I did for the past 10 years combined while married to her. I attended 3 individual therapy sessions. My 4th session lasted 15 minutes. I had nothing to discuss about the past and wanted to focus on the future instead. As Wayne Gretzky said, I stake where the puck is going to be, know where it has been. The therapist said that he didn't feel like I needed any more sessions because I was doing so well. It's been a complete recovery at that point. I have no triggers. I used to get a recurrent nightmare of the two of them laughing at me, the clueless husband. Those nightmares stopped once she lied in the restraining order about me abusing her. At that point I realized that this parasite doesn't have an ounce of care for me, so why should I for her? The weasel's birthday is 9 days before my own, and I completely forgot about it this year. On D-Day, or as my friend calls it, Liberation Day, I went out to celebrate. In regards of my romantic endeavors, I waited until the restraining order case against me was dismissed before pursuing women. I whiffed on my first try. I asked a co-worker out on a date, and was hit with "I'll think about it and I'll let you know" reply. Ouch. In my mind, if it wasn't an enthusiastic yes, then it's a no. A friend suggested the Hinge dating app. I had a bunch of success there. Lots of matches. Took one woman out on a date. I'll preface this by mentioning that the last time I courted a woman was a decade ago. We were sending each other love letters through snail mail. This woman and I clicked very well while messaging each other, and then, a couple of hours prior to the date, fireworks. I told her that I have the date covered and don't want her to reach in her purse to pay for anything. Also, that I will hold the door for her wherever we go. Well, she didn't appreciate that. You should have put that in your dating profile. This is 2022 and most women don't need a man to pay for them or hold their doors. Prior to this, I asked what her boundaries are regarding holding hands, hugging, and kissing on the first date. She said that she needs to feel comfortable just to hold hands on the first date. Fine. It will be an Amish date. It will be like taking my sister out on a date. Needless to say, it gets tense a couple of hours prior to meeting up. I asked if she wants to cancel. No hard feelings if you do. To which she replied, "No, I'm intrigued by you." I could have canceled, but honestly, I wanted to see how much of a disaster the date will turn out to be. I imagined dinner to be the dinner scene from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, followed by the scene where they're trying to murder each other. We met up and actually had a great time. Had a drink, then took a private Latin dance class, and had dinner afterward. No tense moments or awkwardness. At dinner I told her that even though had a great time and found her attractive, I don't see this going past the first date. Even though we meshed well that night, we'd clash in the future because of our personalities. I walked her to her car. She was gushing over me the entire time. She gave me a long lingering hug and we parted ways. When I got home she texted me, "It looked like you wanted to kiss me all night." I replied that I did, but I respected your boundaries. She followed that with, "Maybe I should have kissed you then." I told her to come over the next night to cook dinner at my place. She obliged. 24 hours later we were fooling around in my bed. She said that she wants us to date casually. Perfect for me. That gives me time to focus on my other goals. I ended up ending it with her a couple of days later because she disrespected me. After the parasite I was married to was so disrespectful toward the end of our marriage, I vowed to never let another woman disrespect me ever again. Had I started dating immediately after the divorce, I'd have probably put up with a lot of bullshit because my self-esteem was gutted at the time. And then I met my current girlfriend. I matched with a gorgeous Latina who was not only open to chivalry, but welcomed it. In our conversation she said things like, "It'd be an honor to go on a date with you." No woman has ever said that to me before. Since day one she has done nothing but build me up instead of criticizing the way that parasite used to do. When we met up, she immediately went for a hug. She held my hand while we were still in the parking lot and waited for me to open her door throughout the night. At the bar she touched my arm and shoulder while laughing. We went dancing, and while she was so much more experienced as a dancer compared to me, I have no dancing experience and have 2 left feet, it felt so natural and sexy to dance with her. I didn't feel like a robot on the dance floor the same way I felt on the first date with the other woman. Our hands were all over each other and she was kissing my neck as meringue all over the dance floor. At one point the dance instructor left the room to let us do our thing. After dinner I took her to my employee party because she loves to dance. I slipped the DJ a $20 and requested her song. We danced while everyone else watched us. She had a beaming smile from ear to ear, and rubbing up against me all night like a female cat in heat. By the end of the night, she broke her own rule of no French kissing on the first date. She came over to my house 3 days later, and we've been seeing each other every day since then. We deleted our dating apps after the second date, and have been in a committed monogamous relationship ever since. We were born half a world away from each other, yet our cultures are so similar. I didn't expect to find someone like her this soon. I thought that I'd date a bunch of women before settling down. I knew that she is the one I wanted to pursue when a very pretty redhead from Hinge finally matched with me, and I had no desire to open her message to read it. What a year it has been. It started out in the worst possible way, and it's ending on the highest note imaginable. And the most exciting thing is that I feel like I've only scratched the surface. To culminate the success, I commissioned an artist to do this painting titled "Rebirth of a Man" for me. I told him in January 2022 about my situation, the beginning of my journey towards self-improvement, and where I see myself in the future. This was his interpretation. I had no expectations going in, and he still managed to blow them away. He delivered the painting to me shortly after I competed at the bodybuilding show. How appropriate. I hope that my story helps a bunch of you. It's so scary to leave the cheating partner. I've been there myself. At one point I considered reconciliation before finally pulling the trigger on divorce. But know that there is an exciting world out there beyond the walls of your current relationship. You will meet someone who shows you what a healthy relationship looks like. It wasn't until I met my current girlfriend did I realize that I was never happy with the parasite I was married to. I was content well with her, but never happy.
Oh man, whew, OP. Overall, it's good to hear that you are prospering healthily and happily, but be sure you're removed any residual anger at women for what your ex did to you. The way you describe interacting with other women in your dating life left me curious, dude. Look, the truth is, there are still good women out there. In fact, a good chunk of women that you will be dating in your life are good women. But it's the fuckers like your parasite of an ex that ruins everything for everyone. Because of women like her, good men are walking away traumatized, and good women are left lonely and miserable. All because of this, I deserve this, I deserve that attitude, right? Yay, modern feminism. Okay, jokes aside, OP, while I don't fully believe the entirety of your story, yes, I'm saying it right here, I feel that there are certain details of your story that are complete bullshit, alright? But still, regardless, I sincerely wish the best for you and your new girlfriend too. Good luck, OP. Keep doing better and become that true Giga Chad. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/nuclear revenge, where OP's abusive, cheating ex-girlfriend finds out the hard way what exactly happens when a simp finally grows a spine. Whoa, ho, 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 ho. This sounds very interesting. Let's begin. My ex started abusing me again, so I ruined her college education. Posted by Reddit user Don't Call Me at 1 a.m. drunk.
I met my ex-girlfriend Renee 4 years ago when we were 17 and 16 in specific. We were off and on because of her behavior and mine as well. It was toxic and we weren't best suited. I was untrusting and cold some days. She was always drinking and going out with other people and couldn't be bothered with me unless she had a bad day. She constantly went out drinking, sending explicit pics to other guys, having sex and then blaming it on assault so I wouldn't freak out. And I handled it poorly by being strict and creating rules and being way too overprotective of her, which I can admit is my bad. But she always made me the source of her issues and blamed me for her parents hating her, her sister being mean to her, not having a social life. Even thought I stopped her from suicide when I met her, helped her finish high school, and helped her get a scholarship to my local university. We finally broke up when she moved here for college from a few states away almost 2 years ago, when she at 19 started dating a minor behind my back. I went on with my life and she went on with hers. I met somebody and we had a perfectly healthy relationship, and she brought out the best in me and made me become a better person until a month ago, when I lost her to complications in her life, and she had to leave. I grieved as I needed and continued trying to do better like she always wanted for me. Flash forward a week ago when Renee and I ran into each other and started talking again, told her how my life was going. She talked about hers, and we started being friends again. She knew I was grieving, and at first was incredibly sympathetic, and I figured we could have a good friendship. After a day she started comparing me to her new boyfriend, and making fun of me for things I lacked and would rub in my face how better he is at everything compared to me. The shoe dropped when she started rubbing in my face about having sex with him and how it must suck knowing I can't again with my ex. I'm fine with being insulted, but bringing her up knowing my pain pushed a line. I told her to knock it off and don't talk about it, and she proceeded to treat me like a client at her job. She helps mentally disabled people and knows I have a slight disability, and kept telling me that if I don't want to be talked to like that, then stop telling her what to do. She gets drunk one night and starts yelling at me about our relationship and all the issues she endured for being with me. I apologized and made my amends because I can agree I wasn't always the best. Never expected her to apologize for hers, but made clear how sorry I was for my part, as I know I wasn't always correct, and she finally went to bed. Next night she calls me at 1 a.m. She gets incredibly drunk. Starts calling me names and saying I'm mean because she's bringing up sex with her boyfriend and how she's doing it while texting to me, and I get sick of it and tell her to go away. She makes comments she's gonna keep screwing him, to where I make a comment of that's nice, now if only he could satisfy, which brought her boyfriend into a rage and threatening to shoot me. And then Renee pipes up and says she should go find my ex and tell her how horrible I used to be, and ruin everything so if the day comes where she can come back, she will never want to see me again. Cue my nuclear revenge. They both were college students living in the dorm on scholarships. The college has a rule against alcohol and you will lose your scholarship if caught with it. So I contacted the police, gave them her dorm number, explained she's underage drinking, her boyfriend is supplying the alcohol, and she's currently having sex in the dorm with him. Police show up. Dorm roommates let them in, knock on the door, catch her drunk with all sorts of alcohol from over state lines. My state has a lesser alcohol rating, so stuff from the next state over is double in alcohol percentage, and catch them both obviously having sex while she's drunk. She ends up charged with underage drinking. He's charged with giving alcohol to a minor, and is looking at added sexual assault charges because he got her drunk and then screwed her while she's under the legal age. And both of their scholarships were lost and were expelled, and now both have to leave town and they both live in entirely different states. She wants to make me feel lesser. Enjoy losing your education.
Ah, yes. A classic case of after so many years, a person actually matured and grew a pair. Congratulations, OP. You made it. You make us all so proud. You make your creepy Uncle Pattsun proud. Your ex-girlfriend though? Yeah, another classic case. But this time, it's the some people just never change type shit. Look, I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but treating you badly again after all those years? Yeah, you'd made the right decision, dude. That's it. No more chances. From the sound of your story, it looks like only 2 or 3 years have passed since the two of you have broken up. And trust me, no toxic person matures enough in that amount of time, especially not a fucking 19-year-old. I know that when people are younger, 6 months, 1 year, or maybe even 2 years feels like a lot of time has passed and you're potentially reconnecting with a whole new different person. But in reality, it's barely any time has passed at all. It's such a short amount of time. Good on you, OP, for potentially wrecking her life. I just hope she learns her fucking lesson. Good luck and continue being the better version of yourself. And now, for today's second story. Am I the asshole for exposing my parents' favoritism? Posted by Reddit user Just a Big Brother.
My parents have always favored my younger brother. I was by no means unloved, but it was blatantly obvious who they cared about more. I worked a part-time job to get my first car, but my brother got one as a present. It wasn't new, but was much newer than my car. It was the same with just about anything else, like clothes, video games, and cell phones. I'm 18 and am taking a gap year before community college to work a full-time job and save money for tuition. But a while back I heard my parents talking about how much they were going to pay for my brother's tuition. I secretly recorded the conversation from around the corner, and then came out asking my parents why they were going to pay for my brother's college, but not mine. They didn't notice my phone was recording and just said that my brother needs more help. I asked how so when I wasn't getting any sort of scholarship, and he likely wouldn't either. Then I asked a few more questions about why things have always been this way. They got mad and my father told me that perhaps it's time I moved out because they are sick of keeping a roof over my head. I pointed out I pay rent, but they didn't care. I left the room and in a fit of rage uploaded the video to 2 different social medias I have and ranted about how this is how my parents have always been. Well, a few hours my parents were pounding at my door. My dad was screaming at me about how I made them look bad. We fought some more and they left the room fuming. My grandparents contacted me later and said they were appalled, then came to visit with a lot of the family the next day. There was a huge family intervention and my parents were made to sit on the couch and look at their feet while being told off. It was then I found out they'd been receiving money for years from my grandparents to help with family expenses. My brother looked like he didn't know what to do, so he sided with the rest of the family and said he's noticed how I'm treated as well. My parents gave me a huge apology that sounded forced. My grandparents have offered that I come live with them soon and will cut off the monthly payments to my parents. My father told me I should have never told the rest of the family and now won't talk to me. And my mother has been crying for days. So I'm starting to wonder if I went too far. So am I the asshole for exposing my parents' favoritism? Now for the update. I decided to go ahead and call my grandparents to accept their offer to move in. During the phone call, I asked them why there was monthly payments being sent to my parents. Turns out my parents were living beyond their means for a while because my mother quit her job to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. My grandparents decided to help out by sending them money monthly to help with my parents' mortgage, and also to set aside some of that money for college savings for both my brother and I that was to be split evenly. Turns out my parents only planned to put that savings towards my brother's college, and that's also how they bought his car as well. So from now on, my parents are now on their own financially. Likely my mother will have to go back to work to help my dad keep up the mortgage. I confronted my parents and asked why they've always treated my brother as the favorite. Then asked if there was something I needed to know. Turns out there was nothing. Literally nothing. I'm not an affair baby. Not even an unplanned pregnancy. They just liked my brother more. I was mad as hell and we argued a lot before I left the room because I'd had enough. My grandparents showed up on Saturday with a moving truck. My parents were floored when we started bringing in boxes to pack. My father got in our way, and I reminded him how he said that I should move out, so I am. My mother cried some more and said that my father was just angry in the moment when he said that, and they had been counting on my rent money to help with my brother's college fund. I asked if that meant he would never have had to pay rent like I did when he turns 18. My father then said that since I was taking a gap year to work, then my rent money could have helped my brother, which means they never intended for him to get a job while going to college. My grandpa was enraged and confronted my father, saying he raised him better than this. He chewed him out, saying he's never been more disappointed in him, and they will no longer receive any more financial support. Then said he'd disown them both if they ever tried to retaliate against me for exposing them. My father backed down and neither he or my mother said another word to me. I had a bit of an awkward conversation with my brother as we said our goodbyes to each other. And that was it. I just got in my car, waved and drove off. I'm now fully moved into my new room at my grandparents' house. It's a little smaller, but nice. And my grandparents are very welcoming. I'm going to keep working hard to move forward from here and I appreciate everyone's support.
OP, at this point, any doubts you may have had, they should have disappeared. You're leaving forever, and their only thought was, but what about money for us and your brother? Yeah, OP, your parents are irredeemable assholes. Be happy that you're leaving them forever. Also, I really like your grandparents. They're protective, supportive, and your grandfather, he sounds like a true Giga Chad. Make sure to keep the both of them close. They will both be an amazing role model for you growing up, OP. Good luck. I know you can get through this. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/relationship advice, where let's just say he's a really interesting fellow. Let's begin. 20 years ago, I was cheated on, but was never told the full truth. How can I get the truth, and does it really matter if I do? Posted by Reddit user Tragedy25.
20 years ago this year I was cheated on by my wife. D-Day for me was June 10, 2002, around 1 p.m. For reference, we'll call OM for the other man. We'll just call my wife, and basic titles like mom and dad to keep anyone from being embarrassed. Short backstory. My mom and dad had been telling me that my wife had something going on with OM for 3 or 4 years at that point. Even on my wedding day, my dad warned me. OM was in our wedding and a good friend to me for about 10 years, so I was blinded and always argued that my wife wouldn't do that. On August 18, 2001, my dad died. I did not take that well at all. But in the aftermath of hearing the sad news, I noticed that my wife and OM walking very close on my mom and dad's street, and whispering to each other as punched a 1967 Ford Fairlane and let my frustration out about my dad. I noticed the OM was jumpy when we spoke that night after the news broke. It was the first time I thought my parents may be right about my wife and OM. I was a mechanic and I learned that from my dad. So after he died, I couldn't work on cars without hearing his voice. It was hard on me. So I took a job with OM at Wally Word, if you know what I mean. He knew my schedule. In fact, he was friends with the boss, and as I found out later, he made sure I was on night shift. I didn't know that at the time, but when he talked to them about hiring me, he told them I wanted night shift. Anyway, so during this time my wife says that I changed, and I may have. My dad dying hit me really hard, but she was bitchy, and I couldn't do anything right for her. She was always going to his house and taking care of his little girl that he had with his ex that left him because he would get very violent with her. He was on child support and got his baby girl 2 weeks out of the month. So, my wife would go down there and watch the baby. Or at least that's what I was being told. Also, our house was a quarter-mile from the OM, who helped us find that house. We even lived with him for a week because the house wasn't available yet. Yes, I know this all is so obvious now, but at the time I thought we were friends. So, during all this there were times that when I got off work my wife would pick me up and yes, OM was with her. There was a Star Wars episode 2 we went to that now is still a trigger for me. One night I was at work, my mom called me at work and told me that there was a Mother's Day dinner at church that she and my wife went to. She told me that my wife was very dressed up and had a very pretty dress on. But the problem was that my wife didn't stay at the church very long at all. She was in a hurry to leave. My mom said for me to watch out because there's something going on. To this day my wife says she went straight home and changed clothes and just waited for me. That nothing happened. So fast forward to Monday, June 10th. I had been at band practice on the Friday night before. So on Monday OM comes to me at work teared up and says my wife gave him a BJ while I was at practice. So I go to her job down the street from my job. It's around 1 or 2 p.m. and she should be there. I know she went to work that morning because I said goodbye to her when she left that morning. But she wasn't there. They told me she went home sick. I think she went home because she knew he was going to tell me. So I get home and confront her. At first, she said he was lying to me. But then she busted out crying and said yes, it's true. I went crazy. So, the story OM told was that it's just the BJ, a one-time thing. But my wife says that they had been making out for about a month, some touching and kissing. Now I know about trickle truth, but back then I didn't know what it was called. But I believed even way back then there must be much more to the story. So, I take her to OM's house later in the day. But before we went down there, I called OM's dad to tell him out of respect that there could be some trouble on their land. To my surprise, he knew about it already and said his son had stolen my wife, and I deserved it. I was hot at that point all over again. So we go down there and we're all screaming at each other, but I could tell that my wife and OM looked like a couple arguing. My wife at one point said, "But you told me you loved me." OM's reply was, "I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that." There was a lot said that day, but that one sticks with me. Anyway, she says that OM had told her that I slept with one of my exes, but I didn't. But she said that was why she did it. She also said that I wasn't paying her any attention because I was going to band practice all the time or working while she wasn't home. But they both swore that my mom and dad were wrong about them earlier on in the story. I don't believe that at all. There's no way that is true. Unless my mom and dad are prophets. She says that the fling only lasted the month of May into the first week of June. She said that the BJ happened on Friday, and that sad she went over to OM's house and broke up with him and he was mad. That OM told me hoping that I would break up with her, so he could have her. I believe this part is true. She says nothing but touching and kissing, and sweet talk happened the rest of the time, and it only started the month before. I do not believe. The Saturday of June 15th, my boss told me to clock out and go home and check on my wife. That he had heard news that something was going to happen with my wife and OM, so I did. I raced home to find the OM in my yard dropping off a small boat that I had given him. He told me he felt bad about everything and felt like he needed to return the boat I gave him. My wife was inside with the door locked and looked crusty, like she just woke up. This was early in the morning. This was also when I found out OM had been helping them with making my schedule. I think he was using the boat as an excuse to come talk to my wife without me there. So, for about a year we fussed, broke up, got ready for divorce. I ended up dating the girl that I was accused of cheating on her with. Yes, that was revenge. Finally in 2004, we got back together. We never divorced. We moved on and had kids, and everything in life that married couples do. The problem is, I don't like the lies. They're so obviously lies. We just swept it under the carpet. While I love my wife and family very much, this needs to come out. I told her that she wants me to forgive her, but I can't until I know the truth. But she swears that I already know everything. But then last year she tells me that a part she left out is that she thinks OM is gay, and was in love with me. And that's why he wanted to mess us up. To get with me. That's also why he didn't try to sleep with her. Man, I don't know what to think about that one. I really don't. Another part to this is about 2 or 3 years earlier I had to drag the OM off his GF that was pregnant with OM's baby girl. He was beating her because she wouldn't abort the baby. He was scared of child support. But my wife saw him do that. She knew up close that he beat his women and still did it. Anyway, I am hoping for help asking people on Reddit because we can't afford a marriage counselor right now. Am I wrong for letting this stuff come back up? We're great as long as I don't ask about this, but we live in a small town and I see him every other day. It seems like, anyway. Does it seem like I could be wrong about my suspicions that this was lies and gaslighting? I knew way before D-Day she was cheating. My friends, family, and bandmates had been talking about it for over a month. Anyway, thanks for reading if you made it this far. Any help is appreciated. To be clear, the specifics of any sexual activity they may have done isn't really the problem. The problem I have is the possibility of lies that could be still going on. On the night my dad died, he talked to me about his money and that it was in my name. He wanted us to help my mother with it. He was very worried that my wife was cheating with the OM and scared that she would divorce me and take half of the money. This did not happen, but I told my dad that she wasn't going to do that. I feel like such a fool. Stuff like this is what bothers me. My last conversation with my dad was a lie. Or at least I think it was, but I didn't know it was. How was he right? What did he see? Why didn't I see it? Why the story with more holes than Swiss cheese?
Ah, man, OP, come on, dude. You poor fool. OP, if you really want the truth about her lies, about her affair, 20 years later, you should know something. You should know that it doesn't really fucking matter anymore because she already won. She already got the best of you because you're still with the fucking bitch.
Why are you still here?
The truth from 20 years ago doesn't mean shit. What matters, though, is the truth 20 years from now. Answer me this. Does she make you feel the same way she did 20 years ago? Because clearly, you have a reason to continue feeling this way. If I were you, I would try and catch her now to see if she's anything like before. Go through her phone, see who she's been talking to. Because I guarantee this to you, OP, she never once stopped cheating on you your entire marriage. OP, something is triggering you. Your gut feeling is screaming at you about how you feel now. And you're ignoring it like you did before and trying to focus on something fucking completely irrelevant. I don't know what kind of advice you are seeking here, OP, but what I am sure of is that regardless of how good the advice we give to you, you will just ignore them. Just like how you ignored the warnings and advice of your parents, friends, and family from 20 years ago. OP, you had just become the laughingstock of your community because you are the caretaker of the town's bicycle. Whatever pain you're going through right now is your own damn fault. And I hate to say this, OP, you deserve it. Good luck to you, Simp Lord. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/am I the asshole. Oh wow, it's been a while since we covered this subreddit, right, gentlemen? Ooh, but trust me, don't you worry. This is one satisfying story. So let's begin. The twins are not mine, and neither is the newborn. Posted by Reddit user ThrowRAHS3000.
I'm 44 and my wife 39 have been married for 15 plus years. Had stopped at 4 kids, but we got a surprise baby due December. My wife hasn't been pregnant in 5 years, so this was a big deal for her and me. So she's constantly talking about it, telling everyone, and that's fine. She's excited, but it becomes a problem when she brings it up in inappropriate situations. For example, a child in our town had unfortunately passed away in hit and run. And at the vigil, my wife said something along the lines of, "I'm so thankful that our baby is okay. I couldn't live with myself if this vigil was for one of our children or the baby." I know for a fact that a few people heard her because they shot us a dirty look and scoffed. I love my wife, I do, but there are some things you don't freaking say, especially when a couple is mourning their dead child. But this post isn't about that situation, it's about something else entirely. My brother married a woman who immigrated from Iran a little over 8 years ago. She's a lovely woman and happy to be a part of the family. Now, if any of you know about the protest in Iran, you can get an idea on where this is going. My sister-in-law has been so anxious and having breakdowns because she hadn't been able to reach some of her family members. She has members of her family who have been protesting, female and male relatives. After the news of Sarina Esmailzadeh got to her, she deteriorated even more. She's been crying, not eating, no showers, etc. She cut off all her hair to show support, but my sister-in-law just really needs to see that her family is okay. My wife and I went over there. We brought some meals, and my brother and I were going to give the ladies a spa day. In the middle of eating, my sister-in-law begins to cry silently, and while my brother is consoling her, my wife goes in to say this, "Sister-in-law, I know how you are feeling. This pregnancy has been hard, it's hard to eat, and I cry that something might go wrong because of my age. but both of us will make it through this. Now let's go to the salon and do something about that hair." My wife had a genuine smile on her face. My sister-in-law began to cry even harder. I said sorry to them, ushered my wife out of their house, and got into the car fuming. My wife noticed I was upset and asked why, and I said, "Stop making everything about you and this pregnancy." Sister-in-law is having night terrors because of what's happening in her country, worried sick that her own family members may possibly die for protesting. Yet you go and compare her issue and your pregnancy together. My wife tried to explain her reasoning, saying she was just trying to make her feel better. How the hell was commenting on her hair and comparing your pregnancy to the protest in Iran going to make her feel better? My wife continued to say she did nothing wrong, but there is a time and a place for everything. My wife took off to her parents, and I've been getting calls left and right from my in-laws for not caring about my wife's pregnancy. Am I the asshole?
OP, you already had me at her inappropriate comment at the vigil. This is just a whole new other level of self-centeredness. Good fucking lord, your wife is an asshole. While you, OP, no, you're not an asshole at all. Good luck to you, my friend. Unfortunately though, I'm featuring you for today, so I'm assuming this is gonna get a lot worse, so man. Anyways, now for OP's first update.
I didn't think I'd come back to this website. I read many of your comments and took all the advice. Sit down, talk with her, get her point of view, maybe get her evaluated, and go back to how we were. Well, that's not happening. Found out some devastating news from our 14-year-old, and I'm debating on whether I should keep fighting for this marriage. She cheated on me. My wife, my partner in crime, my best friend, the fucking mother of my kids. And now I'm even unsure if they're my kids. I haven't told my wife that I know about her affair. And frankly, I don't want to. I've been with her for so long that I don't know if I can live without her. I don't know how long she and this guy have been meeting up. I hope it's only been a couple of times, because that'll be easier to get over. I'm trying to keep myself together for my 14-year-old, but it's hard. Whenever I get a chance by myself, I have a breakdown. I don't get what I did to cause her to do this. I thought I was a good husband, a good father, and a good friend. Turns out I may have been shit. I found out about the affair a couple days ago from my 14-year-old. I've reassured her nothing's wrong, and I'll have me and her mother explain it. I'm thinking about just telling her that me and her mom have an open relationship to keep this under wraps, to just make it not look she cheated on me. I've just been going through the motions. My wife, she's still at her parents'. She's still barely talking to me. Now I know why. Maybe if I tell her I know about her affair, she'll end it and come back home. We have a good life together. We're good together. I feel like I'm rambling. If this was my brother and I found out his wife cheated on him and he was talking like how I am now, I'd grab him by the collar and set him straight. I've watched films of this stuff, heard about it, and even watched shows where the couple talks about how they get past infidelities. I would think, they're so stupid, just get divorced. I'd never forgive my wife if she cheated on me. But now I'm in the same shoes and I sound just like them. From what I've seen so far, it was just emotional and nudes. But my daughter had taken plenty of pictures and I've only seen about 4 so far. There's at least 30. I feel that if I go through the rest of these photos, it'll confirm that she may have been having this affair for a long time. My daughters might not even be my kids. If I go public with this, it won't just turn my world upside down. It'll affect my daughters too. I don't want to hurt them like that. I only eat when my daughter's around me to keep up the facade that everything's fine. But when she's away, I'm throwing up and shaking. This isn't just some high school relationship. This the woman I've built a life with. I know what I should do, but I don't want to. Over the last few days, I've realized how much my life circles around my wife and kids. If I dig any further into this, I just might break. If you've been married, are married, in a long-term relationship with kids and a home, how do you get past this? Do I just quietly confront her and do marriage counseling? Or do I just keep this from her and get her to come back home and act as if I know nothing about this?
So take your own advice and get your shit together, OP. She's cheating on you. It doesn't matter what happened between the two of you. Cheating isn't the answer. If you have issues, you communicate. If it doesn't work out, you divorce. That is the way.
This is the way.
You don't have to be with her to be a father to your kids. No matter what, you've been their father. You will always be their father. They've known you their whole lives, OP. So right now, you need to collect evidence and speak to a lawyer, because trying to fix this is just going to end up the same way every cheating story ends, with her just hiding it better and you thinking everything is okay. Also, OP, don't forget to DNA test your kids. Just be careful about that with your older kids, though. They may take that as a sign that you don't want to be their father anymore, and it may irreparably ruin that relationship. Either way, don't stick your head in the sand and keep making excuses for your wife. You don't deserve to be in a relationship where you are not loved and respected. Now for OP's second update.
I recently found out my wife, who is due in December, has been cheating on me. The person who found out about the affair is my 14-year-old. It's been a couple of days, but I'm still reeling from all of this. I finally went through the evidence, and the affair has been going on for at least 4+ years. I haven't told my wife I know about her affair, but I plan on doing it soon, possibly after the baby is born. While it may not be my child, I still have so much love for this woman I don't want to cause any harm. I know that I should probably start looking into a solicitor, separating our finances, and collecting even more evidence. But I stupidly want to try and fix this, or at least not hate and love her at the same time. I planned on lying to my daughter to cover up for her mother, but my daughter is a smart cookie. There's no way she'd actually believe it. How do I navigate my way through something like this? I don't want to be filled with hatred and let our kids see it. Once I initiate this divorce, all of ours will turn upside down. I just don't want this to ruin our kids. If I do a DNA test on the girls, I know it would probably hurt them. We have 4 kids, all girls, 14, 10, 5, and 5. There's a slight chance the twins may not be my children. Just typing this makes my head hurt. I've been calling out of work, but I need to get my head on straight.
OP, whatever you do, don't ever lie to your children about this. Don't lie to your kids to protect your wife, to protect a cheater of all people. Look, you can tell them the age-appropriate version of the events. For example, mommy has a new friend that she wants to be with instead of me, so she's gonna be moving out of the house, something along those lines. If they want more info, they can wait until they are a little bit older, or they can go ask their mother. Always put the cheating spouse on the spot for more information. It's never your responsibility to try and explain her wrong actions to your kids, to anyone. If you lie about this to your kids, they will figure it out anyways in the future, and they will come to distrust you. You don't want that to happen. Kids have to know what reality is, even when it's tough. Toughness builds character. They can form their own relationship with their mother based on the truth and their understanding. But you owe it to them the basic truth. They need to know. You need to fucking tell them, OP. Don't lie to your kids. Ever. Now for OP's final update.
Last post was removed. I've confronted my wife. She was remorseful, but she doesn't regret it. She loves him. Her parents knew about the affair. They discovered it long before I did. They had been helping them by having my wife and her affair partner meet at their home. Why were her parents helping her instead of being decent people? They didn't want to risk being humiliated. Her parents, basically entire family, is heavily involved in the church in our town. Also didn't want to separate the twins from their real dad. 14-year-old and 10-year-old are staying with my brother and sister-in-law. I don't have the strength to be able to take care of them right now. They hate their mother and refuse to speak to her. They're both in therapy. I am too. I tried to take the twins so they could be with their sisters, but my wife put up plenty of resistance. She was begging me. I'm positive a P is with her at the moment. Seen his car heading towards my in-laws' house as I left. A P was also married. I've been in contact with his wife and she says she's filing for divorce. I haven't asked her if a P has tried to work things out, and frankly I don't care. Fuck him. Fuck my wife. Fuck my stupid in-laws. I always thought in-laws were uptight assholes anyways. I'm glad they're all being ostracized. Mother-in-law and father-in-law have been kicked out the church, and from the looks of the church's social media page, they deleted anything related to them. I'm glad they're being humiliated. The one thing they feared the fucking most is happening. Mother-in-law called me crying, wanting me to clear the situation up. What is there to clear up? Father-in-law wanted me to work things out, but I simply asked if it was him in this situation would be working things out. He answered with silence before hanging up. Wife has been trying to reach out to me. I refuse to answer her. I get just a tiny bit happy seeing how frantic she is to contact me. I don't know what she wants, and I don't want to speak to her anytime soon. I know I'll eventually have to. Before I got the results, I was ready to take her to court and get custody of the twins. I'm pathetic. Going to work is a struggle. My coworkers look at me with pity. I don't even grocery shop anymore. I can feel everyone looking and whispering. I've lost about 15 pounds since this whole thing came to light. I barely get any sleep. Therapy is not helping. This has been the worst year of my life. I wish I had kept my mouth shut in the car a few months ago. If I had, then I'd be enjoying time with the newborn and decorating the house. The house is silent. It should be loud with my daughters laughing or arguing. I should be changing a diaper. I should be hearing my wife try to outperform Mariah Carey. The house should smell sweet and be warm. Dirty diapers should be in a trash bag waiting to be thrown out. I should be smiling and laughing. This house should be filled with happiness and life. Now it's just cold, empty and quiet. Everything I did was for nothing. I had a sad childhood. I wanted a happy adulthood. I can't ever seem to fucking win. I always lose. I don't feel like a man. I don't even feel human.
OP, your girls need you. The 10 and 14-year-old are hurting too. They had their lives ripped apart and they need you to be a parent. They need their father. Go to your brothers and hold them close and tell them that everything is gonna be okay, that you will be staying with them no matter what. Stay with a family member until you're strong enough again to bring your girls home. I'm sorry for the loss of custody of your other kids. It must feel like several deaths in the family, and I can't even imagine the pain you're going through. However, if you want split custody of the twins, and your posts indicate that you do, OP, let me remind you, they are legally yours. She can't stop you from having them. They know you, they love you, and I believe the law would at least be partially on your side on this one, especially of the family element with your older girls. And again, don't forget, OP, you've already established paternity. It's also entirely okay to give them up, to grieve them, to let them go, especially if her and the affair partner are going to be a thing. Give yourself time to make these decisions. Don't give up on therapy. Trust me, it may take time, but it does work. I've been in therapy myself multiple times. It does work, OP. You're not pathetic. You're just a normal human being dealing with a lot of trauma. What you're feeling is normal, and it's okay to have those feelings. Your wife, on the other hand, she is pathetic. Her entire family is pathetic. Her affair partner is even more pathetic and even a bigger piece of shit. They are cruel, selfish, and disgusting. All of them. Destructive people leave a trail of broken hearts. Don't let them take more of your life than they already have. Healing will be hard and it takes time. But OP, you need to keep working on it. Make it your mission to give your kids the best life you can provide, to live the best life you can, to be the best role model for your kids. Look, man, her shame is not yours. You didn't cheat. You didn't lie. You didn't deceive. They did. Good luck, man. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/divorce, where OP is, for some reason, which I do not understand, is still here.
Why are you still here?
Anyways, let's begin. My wife had an affair, blames me, and now wants to divorce with no reconciliation. I'm shattered. Shattered? What do you mean shattered? You should be celebrating, OP. Oh man. Posted by Reddit user Saul Brewster.
Okay, if you got a sec to read, here we go. Married 9 years, dating for 11 with 7 and 4-year-old healthy, wonderful children. We've always kind of bickered because we are both alpha personality, but things got pretty rough during early COVID. I've been the primary and sole breadwinner for the entirety of our marriage, though my wife has mostly always worked, except for a year or so after each of the kids' birth. I've always known my wife was not a stay-at-home type of gal, and it's something I love about her. She's a super charismatic hustler. I'm a successful traveling salesman, on the road roughly 3 to 4 days a week, every other week pre-COVID. So COVID hits and it was tough for me. My work-life balance inverted. I had to take on significantly more parenting, which I was unprepared for. We'd never spent 700 days in a row together before. During this time there were 3 events which caused some knockdown drag-out arguments. Nothing physical or violent, just argument and yelling. 1. She got a puppy. At the time we had a 2-year-old and 5-year-old, upon which I expressed I wasn't particularly in favor, and 48 hours later we had a puppy, a 3rd kid. 2. The biggest fight was she took a job that I, full disclosure, did not support. I had supported all the others. My wife had 5 different jobs in 2.5 years, all of which she left because she quit. Then she took a job that was going to require her to be in an office, in person, 8:30 to 4:30 5 days a week. The office was 45 minutes from home. It would require us to put both children in before and after school care 5 days a week, hire a dog walker 2 to 3 times per day. Also, she could do the same job as a previous one, literally same title, same role at a slightly more prestigious place, including the cost of all the extra child care and dog stuff, for zero, if not negative money. 3, and the one I'm incidentally most remorseful about, is she accidentally drunk texted me a sweet message meant for her college ex-boyfriend. I accused her, wrongly, of having an emotional affair. The guy is a good dude, and I've hung out with him a bunch since then, and realized he's just a guy who's friends with girls more than guys. I have since doubled down on the apology and told her to feel free to text, call, and hang with him whenever. We got into some pretty gnarly shouting matches around all of these, and we both, particularly me, ended up apologizing to one another. Since then, roughly early 2021, I have done a tremendous amount of self-work, including weekly therapy, and have realized, hey, if the worst thing in the world is having a puppy, having my wife take a dumb job for negative money, thankfully we can afford it, then what am I so upset about? Ironically, that job flopped in 3 months because the boss was awful, not because of the issues above. Since then, I listened, and have course-corrected every behavior she indicated was an issue. I now do 50% of the housework, 50 to 75% of the parenting, and pay 100% of the bills. Side note, she has never paid a bill in 10 years, and puts at least $50K a year on the credit card in pure discretionary spending. Also since then, which I'm realizing is when she gave up, she has been doing everything in her power to push me away and make me say I want to separate. All the while I've been fighting my ass off for the marriage. Fast forward to August, we had another big fight where she got wasted, told me she hated me and wanted a divorce tomorrow. The next day she apologized profusely and said she didn't want a divorce, but only says that because it's the most hurtful thing. I then doubled down my efforts, pushed for couples therapy, which we unfortunately dragged our feet on. Just before Thanksgiving, she said she was going on a girls' trip, and I'll spare the details, but actually went to another man's apartment for 2 days. She had met this guy at a work event in late September. By the way, about a year ago she found a new job she loves and is crushing. She came reasonably clean and admitted she's been unhappy for a while, met someone, but didn't sleep with him and is very sorry. Since she came home though, she's been fairly unremorseful, isn't interested in reconciling at all, and wants a divorce. Look, I will admit that I have not always been as kind to my wife or appreciative as she has deserved, but in talking with friends and family, it never seemed to me like we bickered much more than anyone with 2 young kids, in the throes of life, in the middle of COVID. She would call me narcissistic, which my therapist and friends have all disagreed with, though I have learned that I do have some of those tendencies, which are also traits found in many successful business, sales people. She just continues to say, without much explanation, I'm not happy. I fell out of love. I can't do this anymore. Meanwhile, I knew we had hit a first rough spot in our marriage, but 21 days ago, I was happy. I'm realizing she's been emotionally and mentally preparing for this for 2 years, and I've had the rug pulled out from under me. We're at very different places clearly. At the end of the day though, I can accept trying and failing, but I cannot understand not trying at all. She wants to file and move out of SAP. Okay Reddit, thanks for listening. Please advise good, bad, or ugly.
Okay, just a few things I want to point out before I give you the best advice you will ever hear. First off, OP, you're the breadwinner, right? And you pay for all of the bills, yeah? Then you shouldn't be even doing any house chores at all. It's not your obligation. Your obligation is to go out there, risk your life, work your fucking ass off so you can have money. Any house chores that you do try and help out with is just you being a kind man. You're not doing it out of responsibility. OP, you just said that she never once paid the bills. The majority of your marriage is her sitting on her lazy ass, racking up credit card debt that you will have to pay. Number 2, you caught her red-handed having an affair. What the hell did you apologize for? What the fuck is she texting her college ex-boyfriend for? She sounds like a toxic, terrible person just from that alone. She got drunk and texted a sweet message to another man. And you, OP, you apologized. You apologized to her for emotionally cheating on you. Did you even read what you have posted? You even doubled down on the apology and told her to feel free to text, call, and hang out with the said affair partner whenever she wants. You have got to be fucking kidding me, dude. This can't be real. Holy shit. Oh man. Whew. I at least have to give credit to your wife, dude. She got you so well trained. Kudos on her. I almost feel sorry for you. I really do. And I really want to empathize with you, dude.
Unfortunately, it's overshadowed by all this unyielding rage!
You want advice? Slap yourself hard 5 times for being an idiot. And then you need to wake up, file for divorce before the affair fog wears off. Maybe then she can fuck up your life a little bit less. Alright? Alright. Good luck, Simp. Our next story is from r/Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for refusing to cry in front of my girlfriend? Posted by Reddit user Ida Crybaby.
I'm a 22-year-old man raised by a very traditional single dad. Among the many ideals my dad instilled into me was that crying was a sign of weakness in men. So, most of the time, my dad would reprimand me if I came to him crying. It'd range from small things, like spilling juice on my pants, to being bullied at school. He said, if you're breaking down about these issues, you're never going to make it in life. I would hide my tears like an alcoholic would hide booze, and eventually, I grew up to be the strong, silent type in school and in adulthood. If being emotional meant hurting myself or someone else, it seemed better to just not show them at all. Fast forward a few years. I have this girlfriend, Katie, that I'd been seeing for a few months. Most girls were turned off by me being so reserved, but Katie had this talent for seeing that I wasn't just mean or cold to people. I was hurting. She treated me like a decent human, so I did my best to be a gentleman to her while still staying reserved. My dad told me it was important that a man never let his own feelings keep him from protecting and being respectful to women. About a week ago, Katie called saying her mom died in the hospital due to complications from the Rona and asked me to come to the funeral. Her body was cremated to avoid attendees getting sick. Now, I never knew what having a mom was like, so as the preacher described Katie's mom during the sermon, it sounded like everything I wished I had as a kid. Someone who was gentle and nurturing, who'd understand my feelings rather than criticize them. Someone who'd let me cry on their shoulder like I'd done for Katie many times. It was overpowering. I felt the tears coming on, and Katie looked at me in surprise. By force of habit, I didn't dare let myself cry. I took a deep breath, swallowed the lump in my throat, and just gave Katie another hug. After the service, I drove Katie home. It was pretty quiet until, out of nowhere, she went off on me. She said I cared more about looking like a macho man who didn't cry than letting her know how I felt. She said things like, "I'm sorry your dad is stuck in the Stone Age, and I've opened up to you so much, but you never do the same for me. And is your male ego really that fragile?" I just said, "Enough," or "Please stop." But she wouldn't. Normally, I'm not fazed by someone berating me. Thank you, Dad. But after a while, I couldn't take it anymore. I just let her vent at me until I stopped at her house and said, cold as ice, "Get out." She seemed to get the hint that I was pissed and ran in her apartment like a scared child. Now, I don't know if what I did was right anymore. It's become a habit of mine to avoid showing vulnerability. But maybe Katie has a point about having a male ego. Whatever that means. Am I the asshole for refusing to cry in front of her?
Look, OP, I get it. I get both sides. And I don't want to sound like a complete asshole here, but I do understand the lesson that your father is trying to impart on you. And I kind of agree with it in a way. Okay, let me explain. I personally believe that men who can't control their emotion are weak. Okay, now let me make myself clear. I'm not saying that men who show their emotions are weak. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is men who can't control their emotions, they are weak. Do you know why? Because they are dangerous. Men who can't control their anger, what happens? They become violent. They beat their wives. They beat their kids. Men who can't control their lust, what happens? They become rapists, pedophiles, and so on and so forth. They are a danger not just to themselves, but the people around them as well. Look, OP, maybe your girlfriend shouldn't have gone off on you, but I can't entirely blame her either because of the gist of the situation. Letting walls down cannot be a one-way street in a relationship. If your girlfriend lets herself be open around you, you need to put in the same effort in that regard. Look, OP, she had a terrible day because, you know, her literal mother just died. And to top it off, she has a boyfriend that won't take steps to bring down the walls his father put up. So yeah, I don't think either of you are assholes here. Your father, though, While I do agree with the lesson he's trying to impart, I completely disagree in the way he's trying to teach it to you. So yeah, he's an ass. Now for OP's update.
Thank you all very much for your feedback in the original post. There were a variety of perspectives on this, but the general consensus seems to be that, while I'm NTA, it is bad for our relationship if I keep bottling up. You're right, it's not fair to me or Katie if she's looking for someone to relate to, and I refuse to give that to her, especially not when she's grieving. Also, thank you for being sympathetic with Katie's plight. She's apologized for lashing out. She was just acting out of grief, not out of spite or a need to control me. Well, the situation has turned into one of the most profound moments of my life. As we were making amends, Katie gave me a copy of her mom's funeral on video. We both watched it together, and, this time, I found the courage to cry for the first time in 7.5 years. Hearing everyone describe Katie's mom had tapped into my inner child, the sad, lonely little boy longing for the warmth and affection that he didn't get from his only parent. Katie, despite her own grief, showed me nothing but kindness throughout my mental breakdown. All this time, I'd been seeing my own feelings as being invalid compared to hers. Katie just said, "My mom always made me feel safe whenever I was sad. Now I want to do the same for you." Bless her heart. Now, our relationship is stronger than ever. We're both looking after each other, but also seeking our own means of support to avoid being too dependent. I've finally started on my long overdue journey toward healing from my trauma and improving my mental health. I never would have reached this milestone if it weren't for the kind people of Reddit. I started from having no other outlet to having more options toward bettering myself than ever. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations, OP. I know it's weird, but crying to someone you trust and letting them comfort you, it just feels so damn good. And you deserve that feeling. OP, don't forget, control your emotions. Don't act upon them immediately without thinking about it first. Do what you have to do, and then you can pour out your heart later. That is what a Giga Chat does. That is the way.
This is the way.
It just goes to show how strong your relationship is if you are able to be vulnerable to each other. And she made you feel safe enough to let go and be supportive enough to let you know that you can come back to that safe place again and again. OP, trust your creepy Uncle Pattsun. The best relationships aren't the ones that don't have ups and downs. It's the ones that can weather the storm and come out stronger. And this, my dude, this relationship that you have, it has it. Good job, OP. You're both doing great. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to Pattsun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.